Most video editors overdo transitions, and I get it. When you're just starting out, transitions look new and exciting. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to use them and when not to use them in DaVinci Resolve. Starting with level 1, the basics of transition. A transition helps you going from one clip to another one in a smooth way. The simplest way to make a transition is to click and drag a handle on the top left or top right of a clip. If you drag that to the right, you will create a fade-in transition. The longer you drag this, the longer the transition will be. This also works with audio, by the way. And of course, you can also do this at the ending of a clip. Honestly, most of the time, simple transitions like this are all you need. There you go. So now you learned how to fade from nothing into a video, but you can also fade one clip into another one. To do that, drag two clips against each other. Then right in between those clips, right click and choose one of these. Doesn't matter which one, because afterwards you can drag the transition longer or shorter like this. Let's play back and see what it looks like. This transition looks cool, but sometimes when trying to apply this transition, you'll get this error. This is because Resolve doesn't have any video available to create this transition. As you can see, I'm trying to make it longer, but it doesn't let me because there's nothing there. You're at the end of the first clip and at the start of the second clip. To fix that, simply trim away a piece of the first video and a piece of the second video. Snap them together and now it will work perfectly. Now you know how to create the most basic transition in the history of video editing. Which means we're moving to level 2, customizing transitions. First, we're gonna open up the inspector. In the timeline, select the transition we created earlier and then go to the transition tab in the inspector panel. Now, all these settings are related to your selected transition. You can change the transition from the menu right here. For example, DaVinci Resolve. That blends the clips together beautifully. Now, the other available transition types are mostly Microsoft PowerPoint style transitions. You'll never use these unless you're doing something very specific. But underneath these transitions, you'll find a bunch of settings that you can play around with. Small adjustments here can completely change how a transition feels. It's very interesting. Now, there is another place in Resolve with a bunch of very cool transitions. Go to the top left and open up the effects panel. You will see a tab called Video Transitions. In here, you'll also find PowerPoint transitions, as you can see. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find some really cool ones. First of all, you can preview transitions before applying them by hovering your cursor over them. Now in the timeline, I have two clips, one of the Earth and a top view of some buildings and traffic. I don't want to apply random transitions. I want to find a transition that actually fits those two clips. And that would be this zoom in transition. Click and drag it in between your clips and that will look like this. Let's put the playhead in the middle of the transition for a moment and now let's customize it by selecting it and going to the inspector panel. Again, all the settings in here are related to the selected transition. Let's increase the zoom scale to about 6. That way it will look more as if the camera is zooming in on the Earth. And let's enable motion blur. This is what it looks like. Perfect. Now for space clips, the warp transition also works very well. The drop warp transition too. They all work because they're kinda space related. Alright, now you understand when to use the correct transition. And if DaVinci Resolve still feels overwhelming sometimes, that is completely normal. That's exactly why I created a complete beginner course so you can learn everything in the right order instead of jumping between tutorials. If you're interested, you'll find it down in the description. Alright, level 3. Learn when not to use transitions. Sometimes adding a cut at the right moment will look so much better than any transition. Look at these clips for example. This guy's putting on his headphones in a long shot and in a medium shot. A warp transition would look very weird, I mean come on. Instead we're gonna do something much better. Okay, now on the first clip, find the moment where the guy is putting on his headphones, right in the middle of the moment. Then trim away everything that comes after that. For the second clip, do the same thing but at the front of the clip. Remove everything before the playhead. Now snap the clips together and look at that. This is called a match on action. Let me scrub through it so you don't miss it. There's no transition in the universe that looks better than this cut. And now that you know when not to use transitions, it's time for number 4, custom transitions. Right here, we're again blending movement of 2 different clips together, but also using a transition to smoothen the effect even more. You won't see the transition, but that's the point. That's what makes it great. Let me show you. We're gonna do the same thing as with our headphones guy. On the first clip, go to the point where the camera is moving very fast. Then trim away everything on the right side. On the second clip, go to the point where the camera is moving at its fastest again, and cut away everything that's in front of the playhead. Now snap the clips together, and that already looks good. But you can still notice the clips are changing. That's where the transition comes in. Simply right-click in between the clips, add a few frames, and that blends them in perfectly together. You won't even notice the transition. And now that you know how to do this, you're officially a professional transition maker. Again, if you want to become a pro in video editing in general, click the link down below to watch the entire DaVinci Resolve beginner course. Now, if this video helped you, these tricks are gonna change your life in DaVinci Resolve. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you there.